A 32-ounce bottle of Tilex mold and mildew remover costs about $7, and a 121-ounce jug of plain household bleach costs about $4. And the chemical that's actually killing the mold is the same in both bottles. Same molecule, same mechanism. The expensive one is just more dilute, with some surfactants and a fragrance masking the chlorine smell. That's the entire difference. And once you see it on the label, you can't unsee it, because you realize you've been paying a premium per ounce for water, perfume, and a spray nozzle. Flip the bottle around and read the active ingredient line, because the story is right there on the label and nobody reads it. Tilex mold and mildew remover lists sodium hypochlorite at roughly 2.5%. Household bleach, Clorox, the store brand, whatever's cheapest, lists sodium hypochlorite at 6 to 8.25%, depending on whether you buy the regular or the concentrated version. So the bottle marketed specifically for mold contains less of the mold-killing chemical than the generic jug sitting 3 feet away on the same shelf. Roughly a third as much, in many cases. The rest of what you're paying for is a blend of surfactants to help the liquid cling to vertical surfaces, a fragrance compound to cover the chlorine smell, and a trigger sprayer that costs the manufacturer maybe 18 cents. None of that kills mold. The sodium hypochlorite does all the work. Everything else is delivery and marketing. I want to be clear about something before we go further, because this isn't really a conspiracy story. Nobody buried this. Nobody suppressed it. The information is printed on the side of every bottle in every grocery store in North America. What actually happened is more ordinary and, in a way, more frustrating. The industry figured out that if you package a weaker version of bleach in a spray bottle and put the word mold on the front, people will pay 4 to 6 times more per ounce for it. That's not a conspiracy. That's just marketing doing what marketing does. And it works because most people never compare the active ingredient percentages. They see the bottle that says mold remover and assume it contains something special. It doesn't. It contains less. Sodium hypochlorite needs roughly 10 minutes of wet contact with mold to actually kill it, not 30 seconds, not the time it takes you to wipe. And that one fact explains why every spray bottle on the market underperforms. This is the part that genuinely changed how I clean bathrooms once I understood it. The killing action isn't instant. It's a chemical reaction that requires the bleach to stay wet on the mold long enough to penetrate the cell walls and denature the proteins inside. The published contact time in most disinfection guidelines ranges from about 5 to 10 minutes, and the EPA's own guidance on mold remediation uses similar numbers. That's the window. If the surface dries before that window closes, the reaction stops halfway and the mold underneath survives. Now think about how you actually use a spray bottle. You miss the shower wall, you watch the liquid run down in streaks, and within about 90 seconds, most of it is either evaporated off the tile or dripped onto the floor. The grout got wet for maybe a minute. The mold in that grout, and I mean the actual living network of spores and hyphae embedded in the porous cement, got chemical exposure for a fraction of the time it needed. The surface looks clean because the stain on top got bleached white, but the organism underneath is still alive, and within 2 to 3 weeks, new growth pushes back up through the same pores. This is why people think mold keeps coming back. It's not coming back. It never left. You killed the part you could see and left the part you couldn't reach completely intact. The spray did exactly what spray is physically capable of doing, which is bleach a surface stain. What it can't do is hold wet contact on porous material for 10 minutes against gravity. That's a design problem no fragrance or surfactant blend is going to solve. Shower grout isn't really a surface, and once you understand that, the whole industry of mold sprays starts looking suspicious for a completely different reason. Grout is a cement-based filler that sets up firm but stays microscopically porous. Under a microscope, it looks less like a solid wall and more like a dense sponge. All those little channels and pockets are perfect habitat for mold. Dark, damp, mineral-rich, with a steady supply of soap scum and dead skin cells every time someone showers. The visible black line you see along the edge of your tile isn't mold on the grout. It's mold in the grout, growing down into the pore structure to a depth of a few millimeters. This matters enormously for cleaning strategy. A spray treats the top of the sponge. What you actually need is to saturate the sponge all the way through and keep it saturated long enough for the chemistry to finish. That's a completely different physical problem, and no trigger sprayer product on the market is designed to solve it. They can't be. A product that required you to pin wet material against a vertical surface for 10 minutes wouldn't fit the spray and walk away advertising model. So the entire retail category is optimized for the wrong job. And here's what bothers me about it. The manufacturers know this. The contact time data is not obscure. It's in the technical literature that the companies themselves reference when they file EPA registrations. The gap between what the product can realistically do in 30 seconds on a vertical surface and what the chemistry actually needs is well understood inside the industry. The packaging just doesn't mention it, because works if you apply it correctly for 10 minutes using a method we don't sell is a terrible advertising line. So here's what actually solves black grout lines, and it's almost embarrassingly simple. A bag of cotton balls, a small bowl, and one chemical you already have under your sink. This is the method that mold remediation professionals use on small bathroom jobs, and there's no secret to it. It's just physics. You're going to force the bleach to stay in wet contact with the grout for the full reaction time by physically holding it there. Open your windows, turn on the bathroom fan, open the bathroom door. You want as much airflow as you can get because you're about to work with chlorine fumes in a small room, and that's the kind of thing that causes headaches, coughing, and burning eyes if you skip ventilation. Put on a pair of regular kitchen gloves, safety glasses if you have them, old clothes because bleach will destroy anything it splashes on permanently. Pour about half a cup of plain household bleach into a glass or ceramic bowl. Not metal. Bleach reacts with metal over time. Not a bowl you plan to eat out of later. Take a handful of cotton balls, drop them in, and let them soak until they are fully saturated. Then, one by one, press a wet cotton ball directly onto the blackened grout line. It'll stick. Surface tension holds it in place against vertical tile just fine. Work your way along every darkened seam in the shower, placing cotton balls end to end, until the entire affected area is covered in a continuous line of bleach-soaked cotton. Walk away for at least an hour. 2 is better. This is the part that makes the method work. The cotton acts as a reservoir, slowly releasing bleach into the grout pore structure for the entire time it's sitting there. Instead of 30 seconds of surface contact, you're getting 60 to 120 minutes of full saturation. The chemistry has time to penetrate several millimeters deep and reach the living mold, not just the stain on top. When you come back, the cotton balls will have turned gray or pale yellow, which is what happens when bleach oxidizes organic material. Pick them up with gloves on, drop them straight into a trash bag, rinse the grout thoroughly with cold water, and run the shower for a minute to flush anything remaining down the drain. The grout underneath should look dramatically lighter. In most bathrooms, the transformation is startling. Lines that were jet black for years go back to nearly their original color in a single treatment. For stubborn areas, repeat once. For grout that's been black for a decade, you may need 2 or 3 rounds spaced a day apart, but the result lasts, because you actually killed the organism this time instead of just bleaching its shadow. Before any of this touches your bathroom, there's one rule that matters more than everything else combined and skipping. It has sent people to emergency rooms for decades. Never mix bleach with ammonia. Never mix bleach with any acid, which includes vinegar, lemon juice, and most commercial tile and bowl cleaners. Bleach plus ammonia produces chloramine gas. Bleach plus acid produces chlorine gas. Both will injure your lungs in a small, enclosed, steamy room like a bathroom, and both have killed people who were just trying to clean harder. If you've used any other cleaner on that grout in the last 24 hours, rinse the surface thoroughly with plain water and let it fully dry before you start this method. Use bleach alone. Only bleach. Only water is the rinse. No exceptions, no shortcuts, no, I'll just add a little something extra to boost it. There's nothing to boost. The chemistry is already doing the job. Hydrogen peroxide is the other option worth mentioning, and it works by a different mechanism. Oxidation through free radicals rather than chlorine chemistry. 3% drugstore peroxide, applied the same way with cotton balls and left for 2 hours, will also kill surface mold, and is gentler on colored grout and natural stone, which bleach can etch or discolor over time. It's slower and less dramatic, but safer around pets, safer to breathe, and doesn't produce dangerous gas combinations with anything you're likely to have in a bathroom. If your grout is colored, or if you have a marble or travertine surround, peroxide is the better choice. For plain white grout in a standard ceramic tile shower, bleach is faster and cheaper. A professional mold remediation call on a standard bathroom runs between $400 and $800, and the chemistry they're using is the same chemistry sitting in a $4 jug at your grocery store. The difference is method, patience, and understanding what the chemical actually needs to do its job. You just learned all 3. Here's what I'd take away from all this. The $7 spray bottle isn't a scam in the sense of being fraudulent. It really does contain bleach, and it really will bleach a stain. What it is a solution optimized for the wrong problem. It's designed around a 30-second interaction because that's what people will tolerate doing, and then the marketing papers over the gap between that interaction and what the chemistry actually requires. Once you know about the 10-minute rule and the porous nature of grout, you can't buy that bottle with a straight face anymore. You just buy the concentrated version, you give the chemistry the time it needs, and you get a result the spray version can't physically deliver. Test the method on one small patch of grout first, near the back of the shower, where nobody will notice if anything goes sideways. See how your particular grout responds. If it's the method for you, scale up. If you'd rather use peroxide, use peroxide. Both approaches beat the spray bottle by a wide margin and cost a fraction of what you've been paying. If you found this useful, the kind of teardown where we look at what a product actually contains versus what it claims to do, there's more where this came from, and subscribing means the next one lands in your feed. Drop a comment with a household product you suspect is overpriced for what's in it, and I'll work through the ingredient list the same way. The more we read the backs of bottles, the less the front of the bottle gets to decide what we pay.